Hello everybody, Bill here.
I'm Damien.
And we are here for part 3 of our C10 install. Where we left off last time, we got everything installed in the truck and set back down on the ground. So it's got the control arms in front, the sway bar, the coilovers. We did all that work in the back.
New truck arms, new panhard bar, coilovers as well, C-notch brackets. So basically the point of this video is we want to go through and show you what adjustments need to be done. These adjustments do need to be made with the suspension loaded. So we've actually got a set of race ramps that we're going to put this thing up on the ramps and show you what's going on. One of the first adjustments you want to make before making any other alignment adjustments on the vehicle is get your ride height set. The ride height is going to affect panhard bar height, it's going to affect pinion angle. With a truck arm suspension, it can affect the wheelbase. So as we're trying to set all that stuff, we want to make sure that we're looking at the ride height. This truck's pretty much as low as it's going to be able to go. So at the fender here, we're looking at about 22¼ inches. So just make sure that both sides are set even. We've got both sides set, so we'll make the rest of the adjustments. So I measured off the lip of the rim here, both top and bottom. Found out we're about an extra ½ inch further in at the top, so we've got negative camber right now. Bill ran through the calculations. It works out to about negative 1.7 degrees. So we're gonna go ahead and throw about a ¼ inch of shim in there, and that should bring it back to negative 3/4. So that should be a good setting. All right, I'm looking at about 3 1/8 inch off the rim on the bottom. On the top, we're at about 3 5/16. So
that comes out to 0.67 degrees. So that's right in your window of -½ to 1 degree negative. So we're good to go there. Next, we're gonna look at toe.
So to set the toe, we're just gonna do it with the old tape measure method. And these are new tires, so there's plenty of tread here to be able to measure off of. I went ahead and marked a spot on the front and the rear of the tire on both sides so that we can measure left to right and try and get the measurement between the tires the same, both front to rear, close to it. Here's the mark on the front tire. So ideally, if we had this on the ground, I would roll it back and forth a little bit. That way we let the tires flex and let everything go back to where it wants to be. The alignment shop's going to have this on turntables, so basically that's a bearing plate that goes underneath the wheel, and it's going to allow the wheels to move freely so they're not going to bind up on the tires.
Also, make sure your steering wheel is centered before you take the measurements.
So we've got the front suspension close. So camber's within probably a ½ degree of where it needs to be. Toes relatively close, so we're gonna go ahead and jump on the rear.
Yep, so first thing we're gonna do in the back is we're gonna look at pinion angle, and when we did the disassembly of everything, we had the drive shaft out. So we left that out so we can get a couple of measurements off of the end of the output shaft. So we'll show you all that, and then we'll put the drive shaft back in it and finish up the measurements. But we're gonna get going on pinion angle and wheelbase and all that good stuff. We're gonna adjust there, we're gonna measure the pinion angle so that we can adjust all of that. And before we put the drive shaft in, I'm using just a gravity style angle finder. And all I'm doing here is I'm putting the angle finder against the end of the output shaft. And that is between 4 and 5 degrees. So I'm just gonna write that down. And now we can put the drive shaft in.
Is it in neutral?
Good question.
Note to self, put your transmission in neutral before you try putting a drive shaft in.
So the output shaft was 4 to 5 degrees, between 4 and 5 degrees. And this is measuring between 0 and 1. So now we roll on back between 2 and 3 degrees. So it means we've got a difference of about 3 degrees total between this and this. and we're shooting for between 1.5 and 2.5 degrees. So we really don't have that much adjustment to go. We need to tip the pinion down a little bit.
So we want to lengthen the adjusters.
So we want to lengthen the adjusters. I'm just tightening the jam nut so it's touching, so I can use that as a reference. We got the pinion angle adjusted, that's good to go. So now we want to look at the wheelbase. And the wheelbase is adjustable with the rod ends on the end of the trailing arms. So per the instructions, we say preset them to 54.5, which we did. So now we're just going to double check. This truck, the wheelbase should be 115 inches, which is just the factory spec for a 66 C10. So we're going to check it out. Easiest way is to just go from like the back edge of this wheel to the back edge of that wheel. They're the same diameter wheel. If you've got like 18s in the front and 20s in the back, it's a little different story. But this, since it has 15s both front and rear, we can go to the same point on each wheel rather than try to estimate where the center of each wheel is. So.
So with the panhard bar, you want to make sure that it's level with the truck at ride height. So we've got the truck setting on the stands here. Panhard bar is down a little bit on the chassis side, so I'm just going to go ahead and bump this up to the next hole, and then that should get us pretty well leveled. And then at that point, we can adjust it left to right. Well, the final adjustment is really just to get this sway bar leveled out. So you can see the front of it's tipped down a little bit. Just go ahead and turn the adjusters here on the linkage. And I am turning both of them so that the sway bar moves. If you just turn one, it's going to bind up on the other one.
Okay, so now the wheelbase is adjusted, pinion angle is adjusted. The panhard bar is adjusted, so basically we are down to shock valving. Now for just a baseline setting, I'm going to set these on 2 on compression and 5 on rebound. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in the front is a little different, so you've got more leverage on the shock, so it requires a higher setting. Set the compression at 4. And the rebound up to 9. Okay, so we adjusted the toe and the camber in the front. In the back, we did the pinion angle. We did the wheelbase. We centered the axle, and then adjusted the sway bar. So we are ready to put this truck down on the ground, and the alignment shop can really fine tune, you know, make sure everything's square, make sure that the caster and camber are where they should be.